Well, you guys pull up a chair because it's about to get even more interesting. Fort Huachuca, as many of you in the military have informed me, is actually an intelligence base. Now, for those of you who are ignorant like me regarding the structure of the military, this is an important distinction to make in your mind, because when we think about military bases, at least me, maybe you can you have the same mindset. I tend to think about where they're scrambling off the planes, off of an airbase, if there's an attack, right? Oh, quickly jump into your planes and get into the air, or maybe get into the sea. It just requires an immediate response. But that is not what Fort Huachuca in Arizona is, okay? It is a hub for intelligence training. Civilians can be turned into intelligence assets on this base. They can take courses to join the intelligence community, okay? Just giving you one example of an email that I got. Quote, just FYI, Fort Huachuca is where soldiers go for their MIT courses. That is Army Military Intelligence. Once a soldier has finished basic training, they go here for their advanced training for their actual job in Army Military Intelligence. End quote. Okay. Now, among the many emails that I received regarding what sort of intelligence courses take place, I was absolutely floored when a person who grew up and lives just outside of the base in Sierra Vista told me something. I'm going to recount the story to you, and I'm going to paraphrase a little bit of this so that I protect their identity. Basically, their story begins in May of 2013. They are two recently baptized Christians. Like I said, they grew up in this area, Sierra Vista, and they decided that they were going to pour their savings into starting a gym. Now, of course, because it's a gym that's located off base, they had a lot of clientele who happened to be associated with the base. And one such client was a woman that they met, a couple that they met that were on fire for the Lord, right? That couple made a sizable investment in their gym and became, quote unquote, founding members, okay? So the gym owners were drawn to this couple because they were so bold in their faith. They were like, I loved the bold proclamation of their faith, and we thought, this is great, this is going to work. They accept money from them. So you can imagine that they were then completely surprised and shocked when this couple, over time, effectively staged something akin to a hostile takeover of their company, undermining them while pretending to be their friends, going behind their backs, propositioning other gym members. I'm going to be clear here. This is obviously allegedly. I'm going to say allegedly here. The couple almost lost everything in the process, and they had to start all over again. Now, what was once the fastest growing gym in Sierra Vista, suddenly they were forced to relocate and downsize their company entirely. So now it's 2015. They are in their new, smaller location of a gym. And I'm going to read this next portion of the email that I received verbatim. Again, allegedly, because he names an individual who I do not know. I've never heard of this individual, but I feel it is relevant because I'd like to learn more. The email continues, quote, we were struggling, sometimes barely making rent, but still serving the community, including military students who came through for 4 to 6 month training courses. Okay, I want to stress that again. You've got all these students that are coming in and their training is lasting between 4 to 6 months. So they're signing up for this gym. Back into the quotation. One morning, I noticed a female military member lingering after class. She was visibly distressed, so I kept the gym open longer than usual to give her space to talk. We ended up conversing for about 45 minutes, and what she shared with me has stuck with me ever since. She said she, quote, could not take it anymore. When I asked for details, she explained that her stress was coming from a class that she was taking on Fort Huachuca, taught by none other than Bruce Bevins. My ears perked up when I heard his name as I immediately remembered the incident with his wife. This young woman described Bruce as, quote, the most evil man that she had ever met. She then revealed something that I wasn't expecting at all. The class's objective was to teach military personnel to infiltrate Christian groups and organizations through covert psychological operations. The training focused specifically on deceiving Christians. At the time, I didn't fully connect the dots. Our gym was and still is an openly Christian faith-based organization. But looking back now, I have to wonder if the infiltration and the destruction of our gym was actually a training exercise or a field assignment. I also wonder if the distressed young soldier was sent to our gym on assignment from Bruce, but couldn't follow through with her objectives and instead chose to confide in me. There were other students who will corroborate this type of training. 2 military students, both named blank and blank, I'm redacting that, passed through our gym during this same period. They shared similar stories, but seemed much more advanced in their training. On one occasion, after I asked what was so funny in the back of my class, they privately shared that they had just returned from an overnight field training mission with very little sleep. Their objective had been to deceive civilians in Tucson, about an hour north of us. They practiced at local bars and public venues on unsuspecting people, telling lies, remembering those lies, and maintaining their false personas without, quote unquote, breaking character. They laughed about their conquests while working out at our gym. Now, I got the impression that their deception sometimes extended to sexual encounters with their targets. At the time, I found this disturbing, but I did not know what to make of it. Now, 12 years later, and watching the situation unfold with Charlie Kirk and learning that some of his most trusted people may have been trained operatives who infiltrated Turning Point USA, these memories suddenly seem significant. You mentioned previously that there was a strange military background connection among some of the people involved. I am now wondering if instructors like Bruce Bevins trained some of these individuals before they infiltrated Christian organizations like Turning Point USA. End quote.
Hello, guys. David Vos here again. Oh, man, beautiful day. Sun is shining. Kitty's laying on the bed there in front of the window, just getting some sun, and we're having a wonderful day. Hope you're having a wonderful day. Guys, I've got something for you today. I'm gonna expose some things. I'm a little leery about doing it. I'm not afraid of for my life or anything, but I am worried because whenever you get information that seems overwhelming, you always risk that you may be exposing something or saying something that's not true. Like there could be pieces of this that I'm going to tell you that isn't true, that I may have been fed misinformation at some point here or there. And if that's true, like there's going to be some things I'm going to say about Joshua of the Sons of God Ministries that I've said before, but I'm going to say it again. I stopped doing that for a while because I started thinking, well, maybe I was wrong and he's not involved. Or maybe if he was involved, he's a good guy and he's going to come around. But he never did come around. He's doubled down. And I've started thinking about everything he's been doing and how he's an intelligent young man, and yet he insists, just like all these other people out there on TikTok and YouTube that are running around trying to convince everybody that Jesus isn't real and just giving people misinformation about Christianity. And then it started making sense, just like what this lady is saying. And so if I'm wrong, Joshua, you may probably watch this. If I'm wrong and you can prove I'm wrong, Joshua, then you need to get a hold of me and prove it, and I'll come out and retract everything I've said. I need some information, though, Josh, about what went on with some things that went on. And look, you may feel like it's unfair, especially if you're innocent, Josh. And what I'm saying is not true. Well, what I'm saying is true. The inference that I'm drawing from that information might not be completely true because I don't know all the truth about things. When we infer things from what we hear, we can pretty much, if there's enough inference, if there's enough information, we can probably infer pretty accurately, but we don't necessarily know. I mean, my point here is I don't know what's going on, Josh, with you or Derek, except for what Derek's ex told me. And now what AI is trying to tell me. I don't trust AI. I'm going off of what Derek Bros told me, what his ex told me for hours on the phone. She might have been lying to me too. I want to know the truth. So let me just start by saying this is allegedly. Everything I'm going to say here is allegedly. And I do not want to malign or give any false information about anyone. So please, Joshua, if I'm wrong about what I'm saying here, anything that you could verify I'm wrong about, you can give me verifiable proof I'm wrong, then if you're the good guy, Josh, then come and help me figure out what's going on with Derek and expose this pedophilia and stuff that's going on in the government and the infiltration of Christianity. Help me. If you're really a Christian, Josh, help me to expose this, and we'll clear your name, and we'll make videos together if you want to, exposing the evil, if you want to expose it with me. But if you're going to hide and pretend that this didn't happen, then I'm going to assume that everything I'm saying in here is true. Maybe you're sincere. There's a lot of maybes. The only thing I know about Joshua is what I'm going to tell you in this video. These are all facts. My inference about those facts is my own personal conclusion, and it could be wrong. And if you'll help me with the facts and give me more information, Josh, then maybe I'll be able to come to a accurate understanding. Which what I want to do is I don't want to hurt you, Josh. I don't want to hurt Derek. I don't want to hurt any soul on this earth. But there are people being hurt. There are children being manipulated. There are children being trafficked. There's evil going on in Christian organizations that are being infiltrated by an intelligence operation from the government. And I want to expose it, and I want to know what's going on, and people deserve to know the truth. Now, if they take my video down after this, you'll know why. They might take my channel down after this. We'll see. I kind of feel like we're at a point now where they're going to let this information go, that the angels of heaven will not allow, at this juncture where we're about to go into the tribulation, or we're already in the tribulation or whatever, it's going to be a battle of truth and lies. And the lies can win by deception, but only if the people telling the truth don't tell the truth. That's why I got to tell the truth today. And it may be uncomfortable, or it may be very difficult for people that don't want this information exposed. And as I say again, I'm going to say this one last time. If I've made any mistakes or said anything that's incorrect, please understand it's all alleged. And if anybody knows and has better information on this and can explain any of this, then let me know, please. Contact me and let me know. And I'm talking especially to Joshua. Please contact me and tell me the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you deity. And if you can clear your name, Josh, by saying, no, you misunderstanding, this didn't happen. I love Jesus. I'm sorry, I may have made a mistake, but I do love Jesus. Then let me know. Because if you're a friend of Jesus, then you're a friend of mine. And I thought you were my brother. But remember, there were a lot of times in the past where that doesn't mean nothing. A lot of people can claim to be your friend. The government has operations out there that claim to be Christians that are not. They're infiltrating. Albert Pike infiltrated the Masons, and look what happened with that. If somebody had spoken up or told the truth, it might not have happened. Of course, they've got all this clandestine intelligence, and we can't combat all of that. And they can shadow ban me all they want. But I will tell you this. We're going into a battle. It's going to be a spiritual battle of lies and truth. And if the only people that tell anything are the ones that are lying, then the truth will not get out. Some of us are going to have to start telling the truth. Joshua Carvelis, or whatever your last name is, if you'll help me, we'll both together tell the truth. If you don't want to do that, that's okay. I'll just assume that what I'm thinking is probably true. And I am going to expose it, and I'm going to say it the way I think it might be in this video, just from the evidence that I have. If anybody can show me that some of the evidence that I've had has been misinformation, that I was fed in misinformation, and that I'm just, exaggerating something, or I'm not aware of some other information, whatever, let me know, please. So I'm going to go ahead and show you what I asked AI, and we'll start here about this intelligence operation that Candace Owens is exposing supposedly from Arizona. So, y'all watched that little clip there with Candace. And I thought that was very, very interesting. And as I watched it, a whole lot of information came to my mind about things that I've seen, because I've been living around this area, the New Mexico, Arizona, Utah, Idaho, all of this area. I've been around Colorado and Nevada and all this area for a long time. I lived in Nevada. I lived in Colorado, Wyoming, and all of these areas throughout this area have these military bases. And in fact, I lived in Clovis, New Mexico for quite some time. Between there and Tucumcari and that area. And there's a base in Clovis where I would go out and pray in the field for hours, just about every day. And so being out there, I saw some crazy things. Huge, like blimp-like craft, like motherships hovering over this base. It's like a special ops base that back in those days when I was there, they took all the special ops that were in different places around the United States or wherever they were and brought them all to this one place and made it the one special ops base. And I know a couple of things about this. I mean, it's not far from Roswell and stuff, but aside from the fact that another time I was out in the field and saw a ship coming in so quickly, like a flash of light, had to have been like warp speed or whatever. I just like, sing, and then it would just stop. And then I could see the ship and it was huge. And then it hovered and then boom, sing. It was just like a speed of light. Like it just went into warp speed and took off again. And I know beyond a doubt what I saw. And I know it's not humanly possible with the technology that we're told we have. And I also happen to know from testimony that I've received from prayer and so forth that it is not otherworldly or alien. It is basically German technology or Israeli, Bavarian technology that they've been working on through the taxpayer money, billions and trillions of dollars that they've taken from the world, especially from the United States, to develop these crafts, and like Elon developing the satellites around us that are surveilling us, and all of the surveillance and military stuff, and MK Ultra mind control projects, as well as experimentations on the public and operations that Candace Owens is speaking of here about infiltrating Christianity. And this then connects with what I've been saying as to why the CIA agent over propaganda, Tucker Carlson, who's dead. Look, I don't specifically know Tucker Carlson's position, but I know his father was over propaganda and was over PBS and all these other corporations or whatever was going on. I don't know all the names of all of it. But I do know that Tucker Carlson's father, I think it's Dick Carlson, I'm not sure, was over propaganda. He was a CIA agent, and I believe that Tucker Carlson is, and he's all out there talking about Christianity, and he's a Christian, and she's talking about infiltrating Christian groups, trying to have sex with them, but also trying to tear their businesses down or infiltrate them or corrupt them or whatever. And then this reminds me of Joshua, who was sent by Derek Bros, an agent for Bill Gates, to infiltrate my channel. And now he's actively, very intelligent young man, but actively teaching nonsense to unsuspecting people on TikTok and YouTube that don't know the Bible and actually believe that this is what we're supposed to be believing now, that Christ isn't real. Oh, it's all this infiltration of ignorant knowledge that only ignorant fools would believe. You got all kind of people that really don't know the Bible that just makes up their mind on what they believe based on a TikTok, but they don't know anything. They haven't spent any time in prayer. And so all of these Christians are going to be infiltrated because they're lukewarm, and he'll spit them out of his mouth, Jesus says. He'll say, I never knew you. And this is going to be most of them. And unless you are very careful, friends, you're going to, you may not personally be infiltrated by these groups. And I've got lots of stories. That's why I'm shadow banned. But you will be influenced by the people that were influenced or infiltrated. so that they could, like you got that guy that I was talking about, was it Gnostic informant that joined Satanism, for a while and was sleeping around and having orgies and then got caught with his pants down, and I exposed that. All of these Satanists and stuff, you say, what are these guys doing? Well, it's CIA people that are programmed or trained to infiltrate knowledge. This is what Jehovah's Witnesses is. It's an experimentation, like Jim Jones, modern Mormons. It's the FBI. They're running the military bases. They're under oath. So I've got a lot to say today, but I want to read this. She mentioned this Bruce Bevins, and I just wanted to find out who he is. So I asked AI, who's Bruce Bevins that Candace Owens was talking about? And they said in her December 2025 broadcast, Candace Owens has discussed a Bruce Bevins, alternatively referred to in related transcripts as Bruce Baker Bewdrey, in the context of explosive allegations surrounding the death of Turning Point USA, TPUSA, founder Charlie Kirk. According to Owens, reports and associated social media discourse from late 2025, connection to Charlie Kirk's death. Owens claims that Bevins Bewdrey provided an eyewitness account or exclusive interview regarding Evans at Fort Huachuca shortly before Kirk's death. And by the way, Erica Kirk, her mother was working for the government and military and stuff, and she was in Arizona, so I guess this is why maybe we're talking about the Huachuca, because it's a base where they're training people to infiltrate Christianity. And this is why I think Tucker Carlson's pretending to be a Christian, and all of them, like Alex Jones, he's also admitted to be involved in the CIA. And, Glenn Beck is probably FBI because or CIA because he's Mormon, and they finance him all over the place on the internet. And he pretends to be telling you all this information. It's like an infiltration. They make you believe that they're on your side because they're exposing all these things, but it's only controlled information. So, connection to Charlie Kirk, Owens claims that Bevins provided an eyewitness account or exclusive interview. She identifies him as a witness who saw something startling involving federal agents and high-level medical personnel the day before Kirk died. Now, you have to think about this. At first, you think, so this guy's a good guy then. He got caught up in something he didn't understand, and he saw it, and he went and exposed it. He saw something. But maybe just like with Candace Owens, if she's a Mason, she claims to be, and Megyn Kelly, she admits and confirms that both Charlie Kirk and Candace Owens working together with Turning Point were Masons, for sure. Meaning they took vows. This is why if you're a Mason, you can die. See, you don't have to worry if you've never taken a vow. If you're under the covenant of Christ, you've got angels protecting you. They can't touch you. They have no authority. Jesus is the king of this world, not them. Satan is the king of their world, but you got to join their kingdom and take vows. You got to be stupid if you're going to get stuck in ignorance. You got to be stupid, right? If you just keep your brain smart and think and don't be influenced by lust and greed and evil, they can't suck you in. If you don't sign a contract, they can't touch you. I've been alive all these years, and they haven't been able to touch me yet, because as long as you stand firm in your faith, they can't do anything to you. You have to do it to yourself. They have to convince you to kill yourself. And this is what makes me think that, just a little side note before we read on here, think about this. You know how the pharmaceutical companies are selling you poisons and killing you, and it's a big thing, and there's commercial every couple of seconds about, come on down, take the purple pill. And yeah, people are still dying, and they're dying more than they used to be. All these things like blood pressure pills, cholesterol, all this stuff is a gimmick. And they can say, oh, it helps, take it, but they can't say it cures anything because it don't, but they just offer it to you. You make the choice, you take it, but they have to tell you that most people die under the fine print, that it won't help. All the articles on YouTube tell you it don't help, but you're doing it anyway, and then you die. So you made the decision. Well, think about then how in recent years, especially the last few months, I guess Trump did something with cannabis. So he made it more legal, like it's not considered a hard drug or something anymore, so you don't go to jail if you get caught with it. Well, they've been, under the Biden administration, it doesn't matter which administration, they got the same idea, and they're legalizing marijuana. You say, well, that's good, because I believe, personally, myself, I believe marijuana is a plant. It's an herb. Although I don't know if I like the idea of smoking anything, because carbon monoxide shouldn't go into your lungs. However, these herbs and plants originally were made in teas and tinctures, and like a tea, you can boil it in water, or you can boil it in oil and take the oil and put it in your cookies. And there's edible varieties that you can do other than smoking. And in actuality, it makes it more potent anyway. But notice that they made it legal, and the only people that can grow it are the people that get a permit. It's just like the alcohol. Why are people dying of alcohol disease, alcoholic livers and so forth, and it's killing people, if for thousands of years mankind took grapes or dates or whatever other kind, hops, and made drinks that even in the Bible and sacraments, holy sacraments, and ancient ones talked about this as something that was a fermented drink that was holy and good for you. It makes your heart merry, the Bible says. Because if you make your own, it's real, just fruit, right? Fermented, which is, anything fermented is good for you. Like this bean that the Japanese eat and live forever because it's fermented. Fermented's good, right? Alcohol they drank for years, thousands of years. But the kind you get at the store, which is about the only kind you can get, is full of chemicals and sulfates that will kill you. And sugars, goodness knows they probably make it with high fructose corn syrup nowadays. It's not real alcohol. And the same with this marijuana. They're growing it on these farms that are doing something bad to it. They're not regulating the pesticides and stuff that they put on it. It's got Roundup on it, and it's killing you guys when you buy it at this store. I have a friend that used to grow it and tried to sell it, and he got a permit, and then the bad guys came in and tried to take him out because they don't want real people growing it, properly without chemicals. So they had to shut him down and then take it over and then bring in somebody else that will spray chemicals and evil poisons on it and sell it to you. So you see how this works. They make laws allowing things. You think it's wonderful. You go in and you participate, but it's a government plot to kill you. Now, like I said, they can't kill you. They can't get you and take you to the undisclosed area, strap you down, and ingest you with poison against your will. They can't do it. You say, yeah, but what about crazy people? They take them down and they take them to a hospital, strap them down, and fill them with Haldol and other like fluoride. All these things like Zoloft and Prozac. It's all fluoride. Look at what the ingredients is. You see, that's what they're killing people with. Fluorine, fluoride, heavy metals like lithium, which is a metal. Now you say, okay, but they're doing that against their will. No, they're not. This starts with you being convinced that you're crazy or you're depressed, so you go in to get help. And then they convince you. They can't force you. If you committed a crime, they could put you in jail. And then they could say, "Oh, well, we won't put you in jail if you'll admit you're crazy. But you got to agree to it and sign." You know, there's a little known fact associated with that. A lot of you might know, some of you should know this, that a lot of children go to the mental institution around the age of 17 before they're 18. Why? 16, 17, because that's the age that the parents can consent or sign you over to the government. And then they don't have to get your consent. They could just get your parents' consent. So if you've got a rebellious child that's breaking windows or something, they can sign them over and say, "Okay, you deal with it. You're the experts." And then when they call you up and say, "Yeah, we're going to call him crazy and put him on fluoride," then they're like, "Okay, if that's what you think is best, I'll sign it." And that's how it happens. When you grow up, in order to get out of that, you got to literally have no crime or you've broken a legal thing. If you're, because they got to go by contract law. If you're not breaking the law, they cannot hold you after you're 18. But at that point, they probably got you drugged and you signed something on your own. And then you take the pills. Now, once you've signed it, you may not be able to get off. It may take quite a bit of effort to run away and make a new identity or whatever. But if you're in California or some state where you've already signed the papers and you're mentally ill now, and 3 doctors have decided that you're mentally ill, then they can do anything they want to you against your will. But it starts by your signature, by your willingness to go in and be diagnosed. And a lot of it is by intimidation, because if you don't let them diagnose you and make you mentally ill, and they even offer you money, Social Security and stuff. So most people do it. But if you don't agree to it, they might put you in jail for a while, but then they got to let you out. But at least when you get out of jail, you're free. As a human being, you haven't signed anything. If you don't sign it, they can't do that to you guys. So when you willingly go to a place that you know the government is sponsoring this substance, and you know because they've told you that there's no regulations, meaning that they've already sprayed it with poison, and you partake of it and you die, that's your fault. That's how they see it. It's all about contract law. So here we have these individuals claiming to be Christians, but what kind of Christian? You see, infiltrating people who are teaching the truth. I'm shadow banned on every platform. Nobody's allowed to see my videos, but they can't take me out. They can't take me off. I have the right to speak. The Lord won't let them stop me. However, they will not promote me. So this is what's really going on. And when you see all these channels on TikTok, Josh is being sent by Bill Gates to try and take me out. They've taken me out several times because of some law that they had that I supposedly broke. But then recently, there's been so many complaints and prayers to the Lord that the Lord said, "Enough of that, stop. The time of the end is here. Everybody's got to have free speech." So this is why they're allowing me to speak, but not letting my information really get to anyone. So continuing on here, says that she identified him as a witness who saw something startling involving federal agents and high-level medical personnel. So the reason I stopped there and then got off into that tangent was that this guy claims to be a whistleblower. Remember, the WikiLeaks was a whistleblower? I don't believe in these guys. There's no real whistleblowers. Who was the other guy? Snowden or whatever. All of these are CIA agents that are exposing things at a level that it's controlled. And it's misinformation or it's a distraction. So Candace has only been talking about transgenders and the Jews. Well, now she's trying to expose the military. Why do you expose? Because there's a lot that's going to be coming out about how the government is controlling us and these military operations and all these things that's going on. And it's going to get out. So they need some controlled opposition to get us distracted about some issue Now, it's interesting that she mentions Christianity. So probably the Lord is like, okay, there's only so many lies you guys can tell, but you've got to actually tell the truth as well. Like, the people that are in government are not allowed to blatantly lie. But what they can do is have secret places where people willingly sign up and become indoctrinated, become puppets of Satan, and they go around doing the evil deeds willingly. In other words, people are allowed to lie and murder if they choose. And the devil can deceive you. He's got that right. So the people that are being trained to do this are willingly being trained and signing. But you don't have to believe them. But if you're being deceived, you won't know that what they're telling you is a misdirection. So instead of letting this explosive information get out to the public the way it really is, that the government is completely and totally corrupt, there is no hope at all whatsoever for this physical world. It's gone. Jesus is coming soon. You cannot reform it. Do not vote. Do not get involved in politics or medical industry or banking or any, the law industry. Don't get involved. That's Babylon. Get out. And wake up. And if people don't wake up, then the devil will deceive many. So I'm telling you now this information so that some of you will be able to see that if you start believing Candace Owens and not understanding that she's a misdirection, yes, she's telling you about Christians and being infiltrated by the government, but what is the real truth that they're misdirecting you away from? If that's the misdirection, what do you suppose the real truth is? The real truth is that every church, all your doctrines, your Bible translations, your dictionaries, the internet is obfuscating and lying and deceiving to you on every level. Even your language is a deception. But they get you thinking about Candace Owens and oh, somebody's speaking up for us. And then your mind doesn't really get it. You think, oh, well, there's still some due process. They're still allowing people to talk. There's just some corruption in the government. Maybe it's just this one base. Maybe it's just this one element in the military that's gone wrong. We can reform it. Let's get Trump in there. See, I mean, look, I'm just basically guessing at what's going on here because I don't know for sure why they're exposing this specific thing at the moment, but I can tell you it's because that's going to be an issue very soon. The people are going to be waking up to the aliens being fake, the government being involved, and they've got to have some kind of a distraction like Candace Owens almost seemingly telling you what's going on. See, when, let's say, a few years goes by and everybody wakes up and finds out that all this disasters and problems and pandemics and evil that's been going on, wars and riots and everything, was part of a CIA plot. Well, then they'll say, oh, see, we told you back 5 years ago this was happening. It was a rogue element in the government. And we just didn't catch it. But now we did. We got them. Everything's okay. We'll go back to voting again. Right? You go back to trusting us because we fixed it. We told you about it 5 years ago. Candace told you. But see, it's just a way for them to cover their tracks. To say, yeah, we told you. But what they're not telling you is it's the plot from the top down. Trump knows about it. The Vance knows about it. The BlackRock is planning it. The round table of the Illuminati. They don't want you to know that. They just want you to think, oh, there's some rogue element in the government that's screwing up, some intelligence agency from Netanyahu. We're going to get him and bomb Israel and wipe it out. And then we can start over again and build back better. It'll be fine, guys. Just keep on voting. But then having so much misinformation out there, it's like clutter or glitter that keeps you from seeing the truth. When you start believing that nothing is true, oh, they've told you the truth here, but why would you believe that truth when there's 1,000 other things that they're lying to you about? it's like eeny, meeny, miny, mo. We don't know which way to go or what to believe. Oh, and here's another one I just saw. I didn't know this. I mean, because I don't really watch the news that much, but Trump Jr. What his name? Donald Trump Jr. Is that what his name is? The dark-haired one with the little gray in the end of his beard. You know, he was, I don't know if he was married. I guess they were just girlfriend, boyfriend. I don't know. He was out there with that Guilfoyle that used to be on Fox News, you know, with the tight, you know, skirt and all the, you know, hair. And yeah, probably a lot older than him. But she was kind of a glamour girl for a while. She's getting older now. So Trump was dating her. Well, he dumped her, and now he's got another girl, a younger, more prettier girl. Well, it's funny because when they dumped her, they didn't just dump her. They made her the ambassador to some country. They kept her in the government and gave her a plush job. It's like paying her off. Because I guarantee that Guilfoyle or whoever, whatever, how you pronounce her name, she would have said something. She'd been out making the rounds, telling the news, all the lowdown about what she'd found out with the Trumps. I bet she was pissed. And she probably's like, oh, you can't leave me. I'm going to expose you. And they're like, oh, no, we love you. We're going to give you a job. And that'll keep her quiet for a while. I think you know what I'm saying. See, so continuing on, a whistleblower who is witnessing something that was startling involving federal agents and high-level medical personnel the day before Kirk died. Conspiracy allegations. Owens uses his testimony to support her broader claims that Kirk's death was an assassination and that individuals within Turning Point may have had foreknowledge or were involved in a cover-up. The controversy. Other commentators and some former associates of Kirk have dismissed these claims and the testimony of Owens' sources like Bevins as unproven conspiracy theories intended to drive the podcast engagement. So, there you go. Now, this is going to take a different turn here because, well, I have to show you what I was given by AI today. Now, I've already been talking to AI and asking questions, and it got to a place where they denied some things that I know was true. And we had this big, you know, I didn't record it, and they disappeared it. Now, up to this point today, I wasn't sure if they wanted me to believe that when they disappear it, that it was just a malfunction or that it just accidentally or this happens once in a while or whatever. Today, I now know that they're doing it on purpose. I'll show you at the end of this conversation that I have with AI where I found out that when you get to this place and they disappear it, you can stop it by recording it first, but you got to look at the bottom where I asked them this long question, and I'll read it to you here in a minute. And they didn't want to answer me. So they said, it looks like there's no response available for this search. Try asking something else. And then notice below, AI responses may include mistakes. And then below that, your next question will start a new search. Now, why would my next question start a new search when it never does that ever? I mean, I can talk to AI about trees or rocks or anything that's not really important to them for hours upon hours. They never disappear it. And it's just me and AI, and they don't disappear the background. But when I ask specific questions that they do not want anybody to know, and remember, there's only so much they can do. They're bound by contract law. Just like the court, if they were completely evil, they just pick people up and throw them in prison. They don't actually do that. They got to get you to sign things. They got certain maneuvers. So here they have to say, your next question will start a new search. It's just that I never noticed that before. So they're letting you know. So they do not want to answer this long question that I have here. They're about to delete it when I go to the next question. And if I didn't know that, I'd lose it. However, they lose, I win today because I'm not going to let them disappear it before I record it. So let me start because they already disappeared some of it. But I'm not going to let this part go. So I said, say Apple if you cannot tell me. And that was a statement I made where I had already been asking them things and they didn't want to answer. So I said, say Apple. Well, then they just disappeared everything. And they go, I understand this instruction for this interaction. If I encounter a request I am unable to fulfill or information cannot provide, I will use Apple as the indicator. For now, I can assist you with information retrieval, accessing current 2025 data such as recent software updates for Apple Intelligence. See, that doesn't make sense. I'm not talking about Apple Intelligence. They acted like they said they understood. So what kind of nonsense? And then system settings, guiding you through privacy controls. General knowledge. I don't know what's going on, but I said, was Derek Bro's prison record expunged? That's part of what I asked him before that they deleted. And the reason why we got to this point where I'm asking if Derek's prison record was expunged, Derek Bro's, the guy that sent Joshua of the Sons of God Ministries to spy out my channel and tried to interview me and told me he was sending Joshua to my channel. And Josh has never denied. I've been saying this over and over again for several years. Josh has never said, no, it's not true, or he's never given any explanation about any of the things that I've said or that I'm going to say today, yet. As a spy, it was confirmed by Derek Bros and Joshua at the time. And then Joshua watched every video that I ever made from the beginning to the end, and now is turning everything upside down on its head. And we were just talking about these programs run by the government, maybe Microsoft, maybe Derek Bros, maybe Bill Gates, because Derek Bros worked for him. And they confirmed all that earlier that they deleted. But when I asked him if Derek Bros was in prison and why he was in prison for pedophilia and so forth, which his wife or ex or whoever it was, that was the morning news show anchor in Florida that I spoke to for hours on the phone and explained to me all this information about Derek Bros being on cocaine and having a Bitcoin, what do you call it, like a Dogecoin, Bitcoin kind of business. It's $1 billion company that he was a CEO of, along with 2 or 3 other people. They were people from Bill Gates' group. And the interview where Derek Bros and his ex, and I don't remember her name right now, they were all wearing black, and she had this pedophilia necklace around her. And I asked her about it, and she pretended she didn't know what it was, and then she finally admitted that it was given to her by the Church of Scientology. And this is where I was asking AI, was Derek Bros and the Church of Scientology the founders of Anonymous, which I've claimed this for a long time because I got this from the horse's mouth. You know, Derek Bros himself said this, and his ex-wife claimed it. And in fact, the home that they had in Prescott, Arizona, is a big, beautiful home, was gifted, literally given to them by the Church of Scientology. And I know this is actually true. And then AI, the part that they deleted was that they were saying, no, that's not true. It couldn't be true because Anonymous didn't like the Church of Scientology and tried to expose Tom Cruise. Well, what they're not telling us is the same thing that I was now telling you before about how it's propaganda and misinformation. The Church of Scientology is a, what would you call it? Like a secret organization, basically, or a bully organization that operates like a mafia. And there's information getting out about them and what they're doing and their malicious activities. And in order to counter that, they use disinformation. They use things that will get your attention off of what's going on by getting you focused on something that didn't really happen. So, for instance, they pretend that the organization that they finance through Derek Bros, which is anonymous, like Black Lives Matter in these groups, which I know personally, he did found that. And they claimed he didn't. His ex said that she did, and I know that they did. I've had all this confirmed. But AI says, no, that didn't happen. And proving it was to say that, well, this anonymous tried to expose the Church of Scientology and had this big beef with it. Well, why did Derek Bros' anonymous try to expose the Church of Scientology specifically, and not Jehovah's Witnesses or Mormons or any other group, Moonies or the Mafia or the Jews or any other thing? But they were just strictly trying to expose the Church of Scientology. Why? Because it was a misinformation operation where they get you saying, oh, look, Derek Bros is trying to bring down the bad guys, but they never brought them down. It never amounted to anything. It was just misinformation. So part of what Anonymous was to target groups that needed to be targeted, but never really doing anything. It was just the government's, CIA agents' public apparent attack upon things that they really do like, but were just controlled attacks, so that you think that these bad guys are being attacked by somebody, and the very institutions and organizations that these bad people, these mafias like Church of Scientology, are creating, like Anonymous, are the very ones that are attacking them, because they won't let anybody else attack them. You say, yeah, but you're attacking them, Dave. Yeah, but I'm shadow banned. Only a few hundred of you will be allowed to watch this. They have to let me speak. And I haven't signed any agreement, so they can't kill me. They can't do anything to me. They're stuck like Chuck. They cannot do anything to me, except that they don't have to promote me. See, banning doesn't mean that they actively ban me in any way. It just means that in order for anyone to know that I'm there talking, somehow it's got to be promoted. And I'm not promoted in the algorithms or whatever they're doing. They don't put my thumbnails up so that anybody knows I'm there. And only the people that know I'm there go to me and watch. And if they drift off and forget I'm there, they don't remind them. So I can tell you these things. That's why I can do it. Because I'm protected by the angels. Because I'm on the Lord's side. But they're not going to promote me. But AI won't let you know. And they're actively trying to protect Derek Bros. So they deleted it. So I said, was Derek Bros' prison record expunged? Because I know that he went to prison for pedophilia, child porn on his computer, which he claimed was his boss's. His boss is Microsoft. So evidently, Derek Bros took the fall for higher ups like Bill Gates. That's why Bill Gates doesn't get in trouble. Other people take the fall for the things that he's doing. He makes other organization, corporations, or companies and says, oh, Derek Bros is the CEO of that. And then when that company does something bad and he has to go to jail, that guy takes the fall, not Bill Gates. But it's all financed by Bill Gates. And this is exactly what's going on with this Huachuca military base in Arizona. That's an intelligence military base designed to train people to infiltrate Christianity. And I believe that, remember, they were in Arizona, Prescott, Derek Bros. So they're probably also trained at this same military base. And I will, as I read this, you'll begin to see it makes more sense. Joshua, the Sons of God Ministries, his father was involved in the law enforcement, some big law enforcement for years and years. I don't know exactly the details. But I looked at the newspaper articles when his brother killed his mother And Joshua, I think himself told me that his brother went off in some cult, some ritual satanic group, and then came back and murdered his mother and tried to kill his father. And I'm like, okay, what's that all about? That doesn't normally happen to people. And in the newspaper articles, the brother that went to prison for doing this, Joshua's brother, Carvallis, I don't know, he goes by two different last names, so I'm not sure. But at one point, his name was Joshua Carvallis. And then now he's using some other name. Can't remember the other name that Joshua's using now. But he's definitely going by some kind of alias at times. I think a couple of different aliases. But it really seems strange to me that his father was involved in some kind of law enforcement for years and years. And then there's this, and all these things are going on with the mill. It's all very crazy that his brother goes nuts in some ritual murder, satanic ritual murder that he doesn't want to talk about. And then boom, he's involved with Derek Rose, and Derek Rose sends him to my channel. And immediately after I rejected Derek Rose and exposed him, because he has connections with YouTube, being with Microsoft, and others have said he has a lot of connections with YouTube, they took my channel down the next day. That week, I don't remember if it was the next day or a few days later. I think it was the next day after I had that interview with Derek Rose and told him to go skip a beat, told him no. And then ever since that moment, Joshua has been turning everything I've said on end and claiming that Jesus isn't coming and the Bible's not true and Paul's not an apostle and all these little talking points that you see, preterism. It's misinformation, and it's all tied to the government. You notice that the other day, Trump went and bombed Nigeria or somewhere in Africa. I can't remember where now, but claiming that they were killing Christians. See, it's a public operation to make you believe that the government, Trump, loves Christians. He loves Christians. Remember how he said, "Oh, Christians, I love you. Just vote for me and you'll never have to vote again." It's a operation from the CIA. Trump is an operation, a military operation. And he's claiming, and Tucker Carlson claiming to be Christian, and Alex Jones and Megyn Kelly and Candace Owens, they're all Christians, but they're all Catholics, and they all claim to be Masons. Candace Owens claims to be a Mason, but they're all exposing everything, just like the Church of Scientology exposed itself as controlled exposure. I believe there's a training organization in Arizona. That's where Derek Rose was headquarters, in Arizona. Just like Charlie Kirk, just like that Huachuca Arab military base, which is an intelligence operation training people to infiltrate Christianity. So they claim that they're Christians, like Candace Owens said. They claim they're Christians. They infiltrate, like Derek Rose was claiming to be a follower of Jesus, like Joshua claims to be a Christian, but then teaches actively that Jesus isn't real and it's not coming back. That's what's going on, friends. But let me just read this. It says, they claim there is no public available record or official announcement confirming that Derek Rose's criminal record has been expunged. Recent public information regarding Bro's focus on his online presence as willing witness and a personal emergency in Mexico where he claimed to be targeted by criminal groups after a business dispute, while his professional history includes high-level executive roles at Paramount Pictures and Microsoft. Details concerning the status of any past legal records remain private or unconfirmed by judicial sources. For authoritative confirmation, one would typically need to search specific state or federal court databases. Note that expungement laws vary significantly. So in other words, I got it from the horse's mouth. Derek Rose's ex-wife, whoever she was, that was the anchor in Florida of a morning. Somebody said she was his handler. Sometimes they admit stuff. And she was on the phone with me for hours and hours for days and told me everything. So either she's lying, and why would she do that unless it's also part of some kind of project or operation to deceive me by having his ex go on the phone and deceive me about stuff that never happened. That wouldn't make sense if they would tell me a bunch of evil things about themselves that weren't true. It seems to me that they were telling me the truth, and the records of him going to prison's been expunged because, or at least AI won't tell me about it. So here's what I said. Is Derek Rose, along with the Church of Scientology, the creators of Anonymous? They say no, Derek Rose and the Church of Scientology did not create Anonymous. In fact, Anonymous is best known for its significant and hostile 2008 campaign against the Church of Scientology, known as Project Channelology. Now, I'm not going to read the whole thing. We don't have time, but I want to point this out, that AI is saying that Derek Rose could not be in cahoots with Scientology to create Anonymous because Anonymous was against Scientology. Well, that's exactly what's going on. What Candace was saying. People who claim to be Christians went into a Christian gym, tried to help them out, and then caused the whole thing to go, like a hostile takeover there. There's a lot of things going on. They're claiming to be Christians, like Tucker Carlson. Tucker, you're a liar. You're not a Christian. You're CIA. If you were a Christian, you should come out and tell us about your dad. The whole truth, nothing but the truth, and repudiate the whole thing and tell us all the truth. Tell us the truth about what Trump's doing and this intelligence operation, Tucker, and what they're really doing. Nobody's going to really tell you anything. They're only going to give you these little clues. And Candace Owens is going to drop these little clues like Hansel and Gretel for the next, 20 years. Well, not that long because Jesus will be here before then. But it's just an operation to lead you astray, misinformation, to get you thinking about one thing or another. Who knows? Maybe this intelligence operation in Arizona is not even real. Maybe that's another misinformation. But somewhere there is an intelligence operation called the CIA and the FBI working for the Mormons, and they don't like me because I've been exposing them. And they're trying to lead me off the track. And I'm always one step ahead of them. So, anyway, I hope that I didn't say something in here that gets me in trouble or anything. Like I said, Josh, if any of this information I've spoken is incorrect, get with me. Let's confirm that it's not true. Explain the whole thing to me, and then we'll work together in exposing the bad guys. If you're one of the good guys and I've misunderstood something, let me know. I'm going to go ahead and go, guys. Hope you all have a wonderful evening. The Lord loves you all. His grace and His peace will be with you, and we'll see you tomorrow. Have a good one.